Daf Kuf Mem Amud Aleph right at the top. Itma Chalda Shalosh Erev Shabbos. If you have mustard which was needed from before Shabbos, it would say the mustard was formed into one mass due to the natural moisture, the liquid from the mustard seeds itself. Now the issue over here is that on Shabbos, can you mix it? On Shabbos, is that considered lisha? Is that considered kneading? L'machar, the next day, you have to do a shinui. So Omer Rav says, Rav says you do a shinui, which means you can use a utensil, but not by hand. The Rashi explains that it is mixed better by hand. So you do a shinui and you do it with a kli and not by hand. Omer Shmuel biyad, you do it by hand. What do you mean? That's not a shinui. Now, even though it is mixed better by hand, but this is for human consumption. Also, kol yom machal biyad. Do you mean to say that normally you would do it by hand? Machal chamayim, who is this considered the food for donkeys? It's for human consumption, so you wouldn't use it by hand, even though it's mixed better by hand, but people eat it, you would use a kli. So therefore, the normal way is with a kli. Ella Amar Shmuel memachal biyad, so you do a shinui and do it by hand on Shabbos veinu machal b'kli, but not b'kli. So the question over here, it seems to be only as far as mixing, but what about pouring a liquid into it, and pouring a liquid into it, and is that considered lisha on its own by just pouring the liquid to it? So some Meforshim hold, and that's brought down the first day in Shulchan Aruch, that pouring the liquid is not considered lisha, it's considered only the mixing, and therefore the issue over here is mixing, not pouring the liquid. The second day holds is that pouring the liquid would be considered to be lisha even without mixing, because that in itself brings it together and makes it into one mass, and therefore they say it's talking in a case where the liquid was already poured from before Yom, meaning that when we say the Haral Shaloshu, according to the second day, it doesn't mean only that it came together, kneaded in its own moisture with its own liquid. There was an actual pouring of a liquid on it from before Shabbos. So therefore, the issue over here is only mixing. But you have to do a shinui, and the issue is what type of shinui to do. The Bir Haloche wonders over here is Tama that if we're dealing with the deraisa, why would we matter lechatchila with doing this minimal amount of shinui? Why would we be matter it with this type of shinui, be matter deraisa? So he speculates, Bir Haloche, perhaps what we're talking about over here is that there was even a higher form, there was actual lisha. Meaning, not only that there was liquid poured onto it, but there was actual kneading done before Shabbos, but this is only the completion of the kneading, which would be a darabanan, which would be just further lisha, further kneading, which would be a darabanan, and we're matter the darabanan with this type of a shinui. But that is only one side. Other Meforshim argue on that and say no, that we're talking where it was not needed before Shabbos. Itma Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Lezer says also. He says whether it's by hand or by kli, in both cases it's also. Rav Yechon muter. He said in both cases it's muter. Avai Rav Damat Avai ein halacha ki Rabbi Yechon. He said in this that Rav Yechon was mater. He said halacha is not like the Rav Yechon. Come Rav Yechon shitz the Rabbi Lezer. Rav Yechon went with the shita of Rabbi Lazar that said echad zeh aser. Come Rabbi Lazar shita de Shmuel that said that it's muter by hand and not with a kli. By Rav Tamat Avayu halacha ki Rav Yechon, and they said the halacha is like Rav Yechon, meaning this revised shita of Rav Yechon that who holds that in both cases it's aser. She made the mustard for him by mixing it. On Shabbos, he didn't eat it. So the Meforshim say is that he didn't want to be nene from an Isser of Shabbos. The base of the Zera of the Leila of Chia Barashi v'loyachal, again, he did not eat it. Amrale, she said, for your Rebbe, I prepared it, for Zera, I prepared it, and he did eat it. You don't eat it? Amar Rava Bar Shaba, Ava came to come the Ravina. He said he was once before Ravina. Ubach Shele Beshusa the Tuma Vachal, and they stirred it with the stalk of the garlic's at the center of the garlic stalk, and he ate it. So with that type of a shinoi, he did eat it. Omar Marzucha, les hilchza kol nishmaitza. The halacha is not like any of these shmaitza. Ela ki hadi itma chardol shalosh erev Shabbos lemocha v'macha bein biad bein b'kli. It's mutter with both, whether a hand or a kli. V'naisim l'seicha dvash, and you can add honey into it. V'lo yitra if elamar, but you shouldn't beat it like beating an egg. You shouldn't beat it vigorously, but just stir it, and then it's mutter. If you have cress, which was chopped from before Shabbos, on Shabbos, you can add into it shemen and chomet, oil and vinegar. And you can add to it amisa, and you shouldn't beat it, but just stir it. Shum sherizkan me'erev Shabbos, garlic, which was ground up from before Shabbos, pull of grease, and you can add into the next day beans or split beans. And you shouldn't pound it, but stir it. And you can add into it amisa. Maya misa. What is amisa? Ninya. It's ninya. It means mint. You can add mint into it. So you see from here that the mint is good, is a favorable ingredient. It improves the flavor of the cress. You're allowed to make a numlan b'Shabbos and not a luntis. What are these beverages? A numlan, yain udvash pilplan. A numlan is a mixture of wine and honey and pepper. Aluntis, what is aluntis? Yain yashan umayim slulim farsman. It's aged wine and clear water and balsam. What is it made for? If a person got very heated up in the bathhouses are very hot, he used to drink it to cool down. So this you can't do on Shabbos because this is made, has a similarities to a refuah, and refuah is also on Shabbos. The anumlin is a regular beverage, so that's mutter, but this is also. He said one time he went after Marvuk to the bathhouse. He said when I came out, Asya Ashken Chamra Charakasa. He said when they came out, they brought him a cup of a wine, or the unfortunate say what it means is this aluntis, and they gave him the wine to drink. And he felt the cooling, he felt it from the hair on his head to the nails on his feet. And if they had given him another cup to drink, I'd be afraid that maybe it would take away from his schools from Olam Haba. So Rashi says what Pshat is because he would masakin himself, and to be saved from it, he would be menakim in his Yosav. In order to be saved from it, drinking the second cup would be considered a sakana, and to save him would take away from his zechuyas, and he'd be afraid for his olam haba. The Marshal says the different pshat is that he enjoyed it so much, he was afraid because of that pleasure, they would take away from his olam haba. What do you mean? It has such an effect. Marukva would drink it every day. Shiny Marukva the Dashbe, that's Marukva that he used to drink it regularly. Once he was drinking it regularly, his body was accustomed to it, so it didn't have such a great effect on him. But for other people, it has such a great effect. Like the Mishnah, ain't sure chiltis but paisha. You're not allowed to soak chiltis in warm water. Chiltis is something made out of gum resin. It is to be used for sometimes, as we'll see from the Gemara later, sometimes people drank it, healthy people drank it, but for the most part, people used to drink it if they had an ailment, a chest ailment. So you're not allowed to soak this chiltis in warm water. We'll see in the Gemara what the Isser is. But you can put it with vinegar. People used to mix it with vinegar and use it as a dip. So that's a regular food, that's a ma'achal of a and therefore it's mutter, and it's mutter to do it because that is something that healthy people drink, and therefore many poskim hold it's mutter even if its intent is for refuah, because it's a ma'achal that healthy people drink, so there's no heker at all that it's for a refuah. and you can't take karshina. Karshina is animal fodder. So to soak it and have the sediments that float to the top, you're not allowed to do that because that's a form of boyer. You're separating the sediments or the impurities from the rest of it, so that's a form of boyer, and it's also v'lo shafen oisen. You're not allowed to rub it because by rubbing it also you're removing the chaff, and that's also a form of boyer. But you can put it into a sieve or a basket. You cannot sift it, but you can put it in for storage, and if some of it happens to fall through the holes and some of it is separated, then it's mutter because it's not a psik reisha, and if you're using it for storage, then it's mutter. Ain't kaivenes and tevin mikvara, you can't sift straw with a sieve to sift the straw to remove the unedible parts and have the straw which is suitable for animal fodder. Sifting it is boyer. So you cannot do that, but and you cannot take it with the sieve and put it on a high place so that the chaff will drop through the holes. But you can use it as a container, so you can scoop it up with the sieve and put it into the feeding trough. That is mutter, even if some of the will fall through the holes and be separated, but it's not a psik reisha, and therefore it's mutter. In the reisha of the Mishnah, it says that you're not allowed to soak the chiltis in warm water. If he did soak it, what's the din? He says if he did, it's a chiyav chatas. What do you mean soaking it? Just soaking that? That's not cooking, or there's no. What is the malach over here? It's no. You're going to tell me that if you soak meat, that there should be an isser over here? There's certainly no isser on soaking meat over here. And so maybe you'll say that it's makeh b'patish. There's no makeh b'patish, just like there's no makeh b'patish like there is in the case of soaking meat. Meaning that this is certainly not a chiyav deraisa. Even though soaking meat, there's not even a shaila, there's no isser b'chlal, but he meant to say is just like soaking meat, there's no isser either. So elam or bayim midrabanan shlo yasik derech shoyse b'chol. It's an uvda b'chol, midrabanan. You should not do in the manner that he does during the week. The Ran says that really what's underlying over here is that you're making a refuah. It's creating a refuah. It uses the expression uvda d'chol, but uvda d'chol means uvda d'chol, a weekday activity where you are doing something which is with doing something which is not to be done on Shabbos. The real isser over here is making a refuah. What about soaking it with cold water? He says it's also. But what do you mean? We learned in the Mishnah that you can't soak it in warm water. Doesn't that imply that with cold water it's mutter? Then if you're asking me a kasha from the Mishnah, the Dik and the Mishnah, if I can't answer it, so what's the difference between your level of learning and mine? So you can ask a kasha on the Mishnah, but my level of learning is greater, and therefore I'll answer you as follows. Masnisin yichidohi. Our Mishnah in a Chanami, that's a correct dig from our Mishnah, but that's a das yachid, and we don't follow that. The sign because we learned the Brisa ein shoren esachiltis loy bechamen v'loy betzayin. In the Brisa, the Chum say you can't use cold water either. Rabbi Yosi, the Tana quoted in our Mishnah is Rabbi Yosi. He's a das yachid. He says bechamen also betzayin mutter. He says the answer is dafke bechamen, but betzayin is mutter. Lamai avdila. What is this chiltis used for? Leyukra deliba. For a person who has a heavy heart, he has chest pains, he has a heart ailment. They use it as a refuah. Ravacha bar Yosef chash biyukra deliba. He had this ailment. Also, the Kami de Marukva, he came in front of Marukva, Amrlei. So he said, Zil Shase Tlosa Tikla Chilto B'Tlasa Yema. So he said that what you should do is, Marokim told him that you should go, the refu is, take 3 dinners, gold dinners weight of this chiltis, and drink it for 3 consecutive days. Also, so he started taking it on Thursday. He drank it Thursday and Erev Shabbos and Friday. Then, Litzafra Ozal Shalabe Midrasha. Then he went to ask on Gabi Shabbos. Then he went to ask on Shabbos, what should he do? Can he take it on Shabbos? Amrlei Tana Debe Ravada, Varmalei Tana Debe Marbar Ravada. They learn Shaisa Adam Kava Kabayim Veina Chayshish. A person can drink a smaller measure of this on Shabbos, and meaning even though it's used for refuah, but sometimes people drink it for non-medicinal purposes, and therefore a kava kabayim, a smaller measure of it, is mutter. Amrle said, Lishta is like kami baile. My shaila isn't if I can drink a small measure. Ki kami baile lishres mai. My question is, can I make it? Can I soak it on Shabbos? Even though normally it's also, but for me, when I started taking this medicine and I have to take it for 3 days, it's a mutter for me to do it on Shabbos. Amralu Rav Chia Baravin B'didi Hava Uvda. He had a similar incident with himself. Also, Shil to the Ravada Baravin. He asked a shayla from Ravada Barava. They didn't have an answer. Also, Shil to the Rafuna. Then I asked Rafuna V'Amr, and he said, Hachi Kamar Rav Sherabetzainer No Miniach B'Chama. You can soak it in cold water and then let it warm in the sun. You shouldn't soak it in warm water, but put it in cold water and have it warm up in the sun. Kiman the Shori. So is this heter dafka according to Rav Yosi? As we said, Rav Yosi said the Isra is only warm water, but with cold water it's mutter. Is this heter dafka according to Rav Yosi? But if you hold not like Rav Yosi, it would be also. He said, no, Afil Lamando also. It's even going according to the Tanakama of the Brisa, who says it's also in cold water. But that's Hanim Yilahefad Lo Yishtiklal. That's when a person did not start to take the medication. Aval Kevan, but you, Kevan the Ishti Chamshu Malishab, so you already started taking. You took it Thursday and Friday. Eloi Shalsa B'Shabbos Mistakin. If you don't continue taking the medicine, it could lead to a sakana. So therefore, you should take it, but do wherever it's possible to do it in a manner in where it would be mutter according to Rav Yosi. So therefore, do it in this manner and make it and do it in a heterotic way, since it's possible to do it in a way that at least according to Rav Yosi it would be mutter, but essentially you're allowed to do it, even according to Tanakama would allow you to do it in this manner, because it could lead to a sakana if you don't. So this is what we have nowadays. If a person is taking antibiotics, etc., he's taking medication, and if he starts taking it before Shabbos, then of course he has to consult. Every situation has to be looked at individually, separately, but in general terms, the medication can be taken on Shabbos as well. Rav Yosef was walking, leaning on the shoulder of his nephew, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Amar Lei, he said to Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, Ki matina lebei Rav Safra Eilina. When we reached the house of Rav Safra, bring me in. Ki mata Eilin. When they reached there, he brought him in. Boy, he asked the following shaila: Ma'ol lechaskuse ki tanisa b'shabsa. Can you rub a linen shirt on Shabbos? What's the shaila? The shaila is rekucha kitanosa kamacham neshavadame. Is do we say that the overriding intent, generally speaking, when people do this, they do it just to soften the material and therefore will be mutter? Or is it the intent, overriding intent, to make it brighter and therefore it would be also? Then it's a form of laundering it. So Omerle said, he said, generally speaking, most people do it to soften the garment, and therefore it's mutter. Kinofik, when he left, also Omerle, so Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak said to Rav Achba Yosef, my boy Marmine. What was the shaila? Omerle said, boy mine, ma'ol kaskusa ketanisa b'shabsa. He asked, can he rub the garment on Shabbos? For Omerle, shapir dami. Said, and he told me that it was mutter. So he said, why did you only ask about the shirt? Why didn't you ask about the sudar, about the turban or the handkerchief? So he said, Sidur like he said, that's not a shaila. I didn't ask it. The boy Rav Huna partially because I already asked from Rav Huna, and he placed it that it is also. Because we say by the sudar that he's doing it to whiten it. So well, why can't you learn out from Susa? Why did you have the shail over here? Why don't you say, well, just like over there it's also, here also it is also. Why should there be a difference? Amar Lei, he said, no. He said, over there, since a person is more particular by a sudar, there we say it's that his intent is to be that he wants to, it looks like he wants to whiten it and brighten it. But over here, he's not so particular about the brightness of his shirt, and we say that he intends to soften it. Omer Rav Chisda, Haiki Tanisa, we were talking about this shirt, so we'll say the following halacha regarding it. Mishalfa l'didamikanya shori. They used to put it on like a rod, sort of like a hanger, but the rod that they used was a stick, which afterwards would be used for firewood. So this stick does not have a din of a kli, it's muksa. So therefore, to remove the shirt off the rod is mutter. But kanya mimena also, but to take the rod out of the shirt, to take the rod from the shirt is also because it's muksa. Amar rava vim kli kivoyu mutter. But if the rod is a weaver's rod, what the weaver used for his weaving, so that's a kli. It's a kli shemlach tal yisr, but it's a kli. So, and that's mutter to be metal till it's gufa makaima. So there it is mutter. Amar of Chisda Kisa Diyarka. It says if there's a bundle of yaraka, it says if it's a type of yarakas that animals would eat, so it's mutter, it's not muksa. Food for the people would eat or animals would eat is not muksa, so then it's mutter, you can remove it. V'iloi also, but if not, it's also. Amar of Chiyabrashi, Amar Rav, Haitalia the Bisra Shal Totula. A string of meat, similarly, a string of meat is mutter. And even if it's not cooked, it's mutter, because animals could eat it. So anything that is used for human or animal consumption is mutter. But the kavri also, but a string of fish is also because raw fish is not eaten by humans or by animals either. So it's muksa. That's the way Rashi learns. The way Taisus learns is, no, what we're talking about, since it says talia, the string, we're not talking about the meat or the fish. That is, we learned out from the previous halacha, what we're talking about over here is the string. He says, a string of meat, the string is not muksa because it would be reused for other cases as well. So when they remove the meat, they wouldn't throw it away. So that would have a din of a kli, and it's not muksa. It has a usable item. So therefore, you can be metaltal the string. But by fish, it would be mos. After it would be used, they would throw it away. So that string is considered to be muksa.